This is your end of day market recap for Thursday, July 17th. A lot of green on the screen today, a lot of nice movement overall. The indices actually did pretty well today. Nice move. I've been kind of not complaining about the indices, but I've been kind of critiquing them, saying that we've been basically going sideways for a bit. And sometimes, sometimes I'll jinx things when I talk about, oh, this is what I think is going to happen. And I've been talking a lot about how that a lot of times during earnings season we go sideways, like the indices go sideways as they're digesting some of the earnings results, because you do have some names that will go up, some names that go down. But today I think we had some pretty good results that came out, and that's just one of the catalysts that probably brought us higher. But outside of the indices kind of doing something a little bit better today than what they've been doing this week with the sideways movements, just I mean, all kinds of names breaking out to the upside, especially in the higher growth areas of the market. Some of those themes that have been present now for a while just continue to work well. So I'll go through some of those, but like, of course, it's your aerospace. And really, like the aerospace and defense ETF that I look at, the XHR, continues to work well, but really it's gotten more like dynamic with some of the Aero names, and that covers both your drone names and it covers your potential names that are going to be, like the Aero taxi that's coming out in the future with names like JOBY and ACHR. So the breadth amongst that aerospace group has been very strong. Like there's two or three areas in that group to be talking about. That, as well as crypto names, have been continuing to act well. Quantum names have been acting well. Rare earth names, uh, lithium, which I put out a trade idea in that group yesterday. Both ALB and LAC have been acting really well. So I'll go over some of those. I'll try to also go through some of the I mentioned on Twitter, what names can I take any chart requests, and I got a whole bunch of them. So I'll try to go through some of those. Risk disclaimer in front of you: everything that we're going through, of course, in this video live stream is for information purposes only. I'm not giving out any advice or recommendations. And I was just going to do a very quick plug. This was the trade idea that I put out yesterday. I think I've got to stop share, then I've got to reshare. So I'll do that, really try to do this very quickly. And here's the trade idea that I put out yesterday for members of the Substack page. So to get access to our Substack, it's ttgtrading.substack.com. You can get the free version. You can debut that, see if it's a value add. I think it's a big value add, because what I try to do is give out both trade ideas and also just give folks a sense of like what the major themes of this market are. So let me just bring up one other thing here. And here's today, like, I'll issue various different trade ideas. JBL, which I'll talk a little bit about, they just announced a $1 billion buyback. So that trade idea is off to a good idea. I've been talking a lot, like I said, about the rare earths. And then, you've got trades like this, IREN, which I know it's been a popular name, but looks pretty good in terms of going sideways, consolidating, and looking for this to resolve higher. So that said, let me get into some charts. I think that actually worked for some reason where you can see this, so I don't need to switch screen. So as always, I'll go over the indices. I'll try to go talk really fast to go through the indices, but here's what I've been referring to is just that we've kind of just been hanging out around this 5-day moving average, back and forth, back and forth. One of my criticisms, or not, I shouldn't, like, criticisms is too strong of a word, but dislikes about this market is I just thought that we've been a little bit overbought over the last week or so. But one of the things that I said is, I've talked about the distance between the 5-day and the 20-day moving average is too large. But the more that we go sideways, the more that this 20-day moving average is kind of catching up to the price action. And I think that's just very good. And, I think just to go sideways for the overall indices while seeing a huge amount of trading opportunities that this market is giving us is pretty good. And here's the Qs. They did climb out. They've been have a little bit more of an upward trajectory, and they did make it close at a new high. So we finally got above this. I think that we had a little bit of difficulty with going back with the July 3rd highs, that half a day before the 4th of July. We got above it earlier in the week and then kind of fell back, but here's a nice move, and we're out to new highs. And then lastly, just IWM, just to kind of round these out really quickly. Still, not breaking down, right? Kind of tested support in here yesterday after like an ugly red bar where we had a bad breath 2 days ago. But since then, we're kind of back to where we were. So do I think that this is the place to be small, with small caps? No, not necessarily, but they're still kind of hanging in there, and you can kind of try to position a little bit into some of the weakness in small caps if that's something that you're really into. All right, so where to kind of where do I want to go first with this market? Let's talk about first. I mentioned this LAC, so I'll kind of go through this first. But here's a nice move, and like just seeing like even opportunities in stocks less than $10. Like this is a good example. I don't usually trade stocks that are under $5, but I noticed that there was a lot of option activity. There was over 30,000 contracts. I think it was a 3.5 strike. So what happens today? They announced tariffs against Chinese battery parts. So what's part of that? Lithium. Right. So look at the volume here in LAC. So I did take a target. Again, I used the MarketWebs value areas to kind of help me take targets. But here was a target right around 341. So overhead supply. And let's see if it can kind of hang in here and overcome that and maybe push. I would love to see this get up to like 382. That would be a nice look here. And then further more overhead supply at 405. ALB, which I did not trade, also has been acting really well. Another name that's kind of come out of this bottom range. If I was to say something else in this group, not this group, but like commodity based, I like this BTU as well as a contrarian play. This is Peabody Energy. All right, so let me get back to those were a couple names that I wanted to mention, but let's also talk a little bit about, well, let's stay with this group, and we'll talk about the uranium names. I've played the SMR. I've talked about how I like this SMR over OKLO. And by the way, I like both these names. I like the whole group. And this held support quite nicely about a week ago and is now back to new highs. I think OKLO did pretty decently today. It did get above the value area for the month. So if you're looking ahead rather than looking in the rearview mirror, what I would make sure is that it maintains above 65.74, and maybe this thing could break out to new highs. Here's what the overall ETF is doing, by the way, right? Very strong. Nice move into this 20-day moving average reclaim, and I'm still long. I put URA on in the TTG trend portfolio, and CCJ. Notice the little like consolidation the last couple days, and also another strong name in this. So again, uranium, one of those themes. We've also again, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. The administration comes out, and the Secretary of Energy the other day said that they really want to get involved in nuclear energy and look at these names get going. That's why I also brought up BTU, because they also said the same thing. Let's talk about what was hot yesterday, which was the quantum names. Look at RGTI tack on some gains. We also saw a nice call buyer today in QBTS. Very nice move here. QUBT also looks like it's perking up here. Not as hot as those other ones, but watch your resistance there, about 4.4% above. That's 2065. I also like this one too, which not a lot of folks are talking about this one. I think I brought up in yesterday's video. ARQQ had an inside day today, so I like this third best. I think I like RGTI the best. QBTS next, and then ARQQ. By the way, I am wearing my MarketWebs T-shirt, which is the trading system that we use. That's on your screens. Best system, in my opinion, for using volume at price and understanding where there's overhead supply and demand below. Using VPOCs and using value areas. So ARQQ. Next group, the LiDAR group. I mean, this is another group that's just been outstanding. OUST actually finished down on the day, probably just a little bit extended. At this point, I would wait for this to pull back a little bit, and I think it will set up again. But really a nice move in this AEVA today. I took a couple targets. I actually took a. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's Norfolk Southern. So there's a news out about Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern. So everybody thought it was going to be CSX, but it's not. Union Pacific exploring deal for Norfolk Southern. That is coming at you live. So let's see what these names are doing here. Really quick. Let's just take a quick look see. Yeah, this is if I wasn't doing the live stream, I probably would have tried to buy this right away. CSX probably giving back those gains as it is right there. So in any event, it looks like anyway, I'll move on. But AEVA was a nice trade. What I saw with this one yesterday was just that it looked like it was trying to turn a little bit. Look, like this was a nice digestion of a move. And I had posted this yesterday around like 3 o'clock yesterday. And then I said, you know what, let's give this thing a shot. This is enough of a pullback. It's kind of the same thing that I did with SEZL too earlier in the week. And I took this trade off. I'm not looking for some of these things that have had like deep pullbacks below the 20-day moving average. I'm looking for like a quick hit on this one. I'm not staying married to the trade. Now, I will continue to monitor SEZL to see if it can get above 148.58. But again, it's just too deep of a pullback. So it sets up for a nice like squeeze higher, but sometimes you don't get much follow through. So going back to this AEVA, like I said, I locked in gains with this today. This did get back above the 20, and it's kind of caught in between the top of the value area for the month and the 20-day moving average. So again, what do? Take some profits, and then we'll see if it can break back above. Even if it hangs out tomorrow and kind of chills out a little bit and goes sideways, that would be okay with me as well. What else did I want to go over? I wanted to talk a little bit about ARC. This is something that I tweeted out going back to February, and I talked about that, because they're making new highs, right? This has been very impressive, this move in the ARC Innovation ETF, and I really think that I do stay critical on some things. I give them credit for somebody must have inside their fund turned this thing around and said, hey, let's really go after innovative companies. Rather, what they were doing for a while, and I would love to hear from Kathy Wood to say if she actually changed her philosophy, but they kept adding to names that were in downtrends, that were going down, down, down. Remember, they were long TDOC and they were long Zoom video, and they were adamant and just kept on adding to those names. They finally flipped that around at some point and changed their philosophy. Again, I'm not speaking for them. I'm just noticing what they did, and now they're more of a innovative type fund rather than what they were doing before, right? So let's talk about a couple of the names that are in here. So for example, they've got Archer. So that's the wrong ACHR. Sorry about that. There you go. Nice move today. I was long this coming into today. I did sell it into strength today. A little bit of a catch-up move, I think, because JOBY has been absolutely on fire. I talked about this in yesterday's video. This is up another 8.5% today. That is a huge move and huge breakout. Let's say Roadblocks is another name, which some of these are starting to look like blow off tops, by the way. That did take out the upside VPOC. But I was going to mention Rocket Labs. Also, how much further can these things go? These things are getting, I think, very extended at this point. Huge move. This is a name that I've been long for a while in the TTG trend portfolio, which has really played out. So again, it's tough to really say much else in these names other than they're extended. They've had massive runs. QS is another name that is has gone ballistic from $7 to 30, like just about doubling and doubling in a couple weeks. So, listen, I don't want to flash a cautionary tone, but in some of this stuff, if you're not taking some profits or some money off the table, because what's nice about these things too, half of these names I think will come back in and set up. IREN is another name that's kind of consolidating at this point. This is a name that I went long. I'm just going to keep going quick because I want to get through some of the requests that you guys put out. JBL, this was a nice setup into the back into the 20-day moving average. One of the Tribeca Trade Group members brought this to my attention today, and I said, "Wow, this looks like I felt like I've been kind of kept out of this name, but I like the check back to the 20-day moving average." That's more or less what I'm looking for hot earnings names, is for them to come in, digest a little bit, and then just to go back higher. Oracle has been one of those names. Every time Oracle dips a little bit, right, it's been a buying opportunity. So, dip here last couple of days, and boom, back out to new highs. Again, just going to go through. There's just a few names on my list that saw some option activity today. I like this data. If you're looking for something that has not gone yet, I would watch Datadog. Remember, Datadog had this big gap up on the announcement that they're adding to the S&P. They came down and they filled this gap, and now back above the 5-period moving average. Also, like I said, like I mentioned, saw option activity today. The drone names really hot too. AVAV, KTOS is another one that's gone parabolic to the upside. There's another VPOC up here. It's amazing to me that this name's not at all-time highs, but believe it or not, there's another VPOC up here. I don't know. That must really be from a long time away. I can't even bring it up on my screen. But that's what I'm showing, that there's a VPOC. Let's see if I go to the weekly chart, maybe see that. All right. It's probably from all the way here. Wow. This thing was really that high. What am I missing here? Wow. I'll have to look into that. I did not know that KTOS was that went up that much, but hence why there's a VPOC that's sitting up here. So again, I would be looking to get involved in this one if it kind of comes back in. All right, let me go through. Let me see some of the names that. Let's see, that's not this one that you guys wanted to go through. Somebody mentioned IBKR. I definitely want to go over that. Let's see what IBKR is doing here after hours. First of all, let's look at the daily chart. It's been doing well. It hasn't blasted off like Robinhood has, but looks like I believe they had a pretty good earnings quarter. They're up a bit, so this should be new highs for IBKR after hours. So very nice here. That should get this over the hump. And again, the overall group is strong. Of course, here's Robinhood which I think is the leader of the group, but I think Schwab also made a new high today. And of course, like the one that gets a lot of social media attention is Webull, which also acted well today. Congrats to people who have been really adamant about this one. I don't really get it, but a trade setup is a trade setup. It has been basing for a bit, and that's what's been going on in this market, is that names that kind of come back in and base, they end up going higher. So very strong group. NBIS was something that folks wanted me to go over. Not bad here. It's holding. It did not close on the highs. I would make sure it stays above 53.16 here. This has been a difficult one. So I personally think there's better places to be, but watch 53.16, and maybe this one could begin to break above those recent highs from back at the end of June. Goldman Sachs was a request. So again, I'll try to go through these very quickly. I think this looks fine. Again, some of these names, they tend to consolidate a couple days after earnings, but I think Goldman looks good, and I think JP Morgan looks fine too. Look at the candle on JP Morgan today. That is 3 days after its earnings, and again, they had a fine quarter, nothing wrong with them. And I think right now what's acting best is Citigroup. They mentioned the other day that they're going to get into stable coins, and look at this move. Circle, I also want to cover this one. Had a really nice move yesterday, and a little bit of continuation there. I'm just going to go to the 1 hour chart so that you could see this. Let's see if it can continue to kind of break above here, but it looks like some type of a bull flag on the 1 hour chart, and still above this moving average. So I like Circle here. Let's see what else. Cintas, somebody wanted me to go over. That's enough. Wow, that's a nice candle for today after earnings. Gets back above the 50-day moving average, and I would keep it simple. See if it could stay above the 50-day moving average. The silver miners, I actually went long SIL yesterday. It didn't really work out today, but it's still holding. I watched what it did at the end of the day, holding above the 20-day moving average. So I'm going to give this a little bit more time. Somebody wanted me to go over all of these. SILJ, it's the same thing. Hit that VPOC, by the way, and got a little bit of rejection there, but holding above the 20-day moving average. And that's really what I would watch to see is if they can hold above the 20-day moving average. GDXJ, also just kind of hanging on by a thread there. Watch that 50-day moving average, but I think there's better places to be for now. If looking for confirmation, I would want to see this get back above, get into the value area for the month and back above 68.18. UUU, saw some option activity in this one. Another uranium named, well, that's UUU, which actually, that's not a bad looking chart. I left off a U there. Really hot, just like the rest of the uranium names. Watch this VPOC at 942. It might see some digestion there because I don't see another one nearby. But like I said, saw option activity, call activity today. KWeb has been holding in there. Took out this VPOC and is hanging in here. It doesn't look bad, and I would watch to make sure it stays above 35. Oscar, which I know is a big name on social media, it's not for me. I think the group is too weak. Managed care names are showing relative weakness, not relative strength. I don't really get what the draw is in this company. It's just like many other many other managed care names. And so I would be careful of that. Watch 1365. All right. But happy to go over the chart, even though it's not for me. SEZL, I already went over. CoreWeave, I would like to be. I will say this: it's unfortunate that the stock isn't acting as well, and I think that's because of the overhang of the deal that they announced. So you could watch 141.16, but I thought that this stock was going to be a nice trading opportunity going forward. But this deal, I think, is going to have that overhang on the company, and it won't be a great trading opportunity for now. And even Corsi, like I would wait till it gets above 1403. I think this would be the play to go long, considering the deal and potential ARB that's involved with this one. But this isn't acting well either. And again, it's because it's tied to the price of CoreWeave a bit. So unfortunately, looks like that one's going to stall a bit. Let me see if there's any other names. If not, we will. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered a lot of names in here. Again, it's been a great trading environment, but I would make sure that you're still being a risk manager in this market, and still following your trading plan, and doing the blocking and tackling. Right, it's really tough to not get FOMO in this market. With as many trading opportunities and themes that we're seeing, I would, every time I get into a trade, I'm looking for, I have where I'm going to take my first target, as well as, my stop price. And I put in a downside alert just to make sure that I know that the trade isn't working. So These are the things that you need to continue to do and not relax some of that discipline, in my opinion. And that's the best kind of defense against something that could change in this market, as well as taking profits here and there where your trading plan tells you to do that, and before you get into the trade.